Cultural agenda this evening, we'll be looking at facilitating creative collaborations online. And we're joined by Yasus Afari, intuitive edutainer, poet, author, and recording artist. Thank you for joining us, sir.
Yeah, man, thanks for having me. It's always a pleasure.
You know, I've always thought of creativity as something tactile, you know, something that you need to be in the present, being there to experience. Is online a good place for creative collaboration?
It's not ideal, but we are not living in ideal circumstances. And so we are Miss Low Picking, all of us are, so we turn around and make fashion. Do what we have to do. Keep it moving, no retreat, no surrender.
Yes. So tell us a little bit more about this project that you're pursuing for creative collaborations online.
Well, I'm a part of an organization called Learning Links International that is based in the UK, and they applied for some funding from the British government. So we have a project which encapsulates creative collaborations online with creative practitioners across Scotland, Ireland, England, Wales, and Jamaica. And so I'm piloting what is happening in terms of Jamaica, and I'm integral to the whole process as well. And what they did was to use both Poetry in Motion and Jamaica Poetry Festival as models to evaluate and assess best practice, you know, what we did well, what we didn't do well, what we could do, what were experiences, and help others to know the process that we have employed to have successfully staged this event for 19 years, albeit 17 years physical and 2 years virtual. And so this is a grand opportunity for us, both to learn and to impart our knowledge and to move things along for the creative industry, both here in Jamaica and globally.
So tell us, how do you get it right online? We know in person, you know, you can navigate and again use personality, but how do you get it right online for creatives?
Well, the way we look at it, you know, if you can't manage bottleneck, then you have to be proactive. You have to go to the marketplace early. You have to plan and strategize to the T. Just like you are TV people, you know how this works. You don't work with dead air, you can't not be there. You have to just do what you have to do. And if things come up, you have to think on your feet and you have to employ your contingencies and let the thing work. And that is the same approach we take really, whereby we go to the detail ahead of time, script and program the thing down to the millisecond. For example, we had Poetry in Motion in February. What we did was to have contingencies. So every presenter had to do a backup plan kind of situation. So you had a pre-recorded stuff. Some people come live via Zoom or some other mechanism, some go pre-recorded, some come live. But in any eventuality, you would have had a backup, and those would have already been programmed. And so it's pretty much for a layman term, just cut and paste. So the live performances will be inserted in that time allocated. The Zoom performance is evidently, if someone is not there for their live performance or their Zoom, God forbid, then certainly you would have had a backup plan which was already be timed and programmed to fit in that slot. Does that make sense?
Well, tell us a little bit about who will be collaborating.
You know, answer me, you know, we say if that makes sense.
A whole lot.
All right, thank you.
Who will be collaborating? Who is this collaboration for? Musicians, artists? Who are you targeting?
I'm a bit sorry. I'm a little bit biased. So essentially, it's kind of biased to poetry and poets, but it's across the spectrum of cultural practitioners. So be a singer, musician, comedian, speaker, poet, even a visual artist. This works. So it's essentially the spectrum of the performing arts. But why poetry is also pivotal, outside the fact that I'm maybe a little bit biased as a poet myself, however, poetry is at the root of every creative expression because of its affinity and integral role in language from the very embryonic stage of what language is. And the fact that, you know, you think in the language that you speak, and the language that you speak shape and dictate your thinking. And poetry is essentially the breath, the social breath of life, the currency of the mind, the currency that you use to transact your mental energy, your mental capital, put it that way. And so certainly, it is centered around poetry, but it includes the entire spectrum of the performing and creative arts.
As relates to going forward, do you see a future for creative collaborations online? Because we know COVID was a catalyst to this, and we see the changes that are now happening. Is there a future for this online, or is it just a pivoting kind of a thing you were doing?
Well, maybe it's a little of both, because even what we are doing now provides evidence of its functional practicality and showing us a way to survive here and to go forward. And so certainly I would say yes, it's not ideal, but it can work and it has advantages. Like everything else.
Like what? What are some of the advantages?
Okay. For example, let us use our experiences as a template. We were able to access the first virtual event we did for Jamaica Poetry Festival. We had pretty close to 100,000 people. We have never had over 450 people in any other physical staging. So do the maths right there. And so it's always be there, while the performance has to, remain in your mind. You can record it and show it back on some, media or social media platform. But however, you would have engaged that demographic, that audience, and you would have, loaded it up on other platforms, and you can have it to go back to. And so certainly beyond what we were able to access by YouTube for that event, for example, it was streamed on one of your colleagues' network. So we had that audience as well, which was a live audience, as well as the other platforms. And so that is a distinct advantage. Another thing now, airline thing go, especially with the war we are going on gas price and airline thing I go up and hotel and travel and all that thing there. Then you can present people from different physical spaces. In our situation, we presented people from as far away as Iran, which we have never been able to do before. We present people from Africa, from Europe, from Canada, from America, from other parts of the Caribbean, Brazil, and so on. And so, with limited financial resources, you might not be able to do that. But when you have a virtual space, it's more practical to do that.
It sounds rather interesting and exciting. Thank you so much for joining us this evening, Yasus Afari, to tell us about creative collaborations online.
It's my honor and my pleasure. Thank you, CVM. All the best.
Thank you.